The championship is very much alive and kicking in the ADAC GT4 Germany. Defending champions Gabriel Piana and Michael Schrey had a nightmare at Oschersleben a few weeks back, but today start on pole positions. They are the reigning champions in ADAC GT4 Germany, driving the Hofer Racing by Bonk Motorsport BMW M4. A great qualifying performance by Gabriel Piana. Sees that car starting from pole position, but alongside them in the number 31 car is the 2020 champion Nikolai Moller-Madsen in the Avia W&S Motorsport Porsche. This is going to be very exciting because third on the grid, Ben Dor, who showed so well at Oschersleben the previous round, he is there in that Aston Martin, which has proven to be very mighty indeed, and alongside him is Marek Bochmann in the Schnitzelam Racing Mercedes AMG, a car that was in amongst all the action for the entire weekend at round one. It is race 3 of a 12 race season for the ADAC GT4 Germany. Alongside me, David Addison, enjoying your debut weekend in the in the ADAC GT4, because of course that category has come about in recent years.
Well, it's become a real success story, GT4 racing, internationally, hasn't it? And a very big grid, as you are about to see, with lots of variety in terms of car.
Gabriel Piana on pole position and Nikolai Moller-Madsen alongside, as previously mentioned, BMW alongside Porsche. Then Ben Dor and Marek Bochmann. It's an Aston Martin Mercedes second row. Row 3 of the grid is Moritz Viskersen and Nico Handke in the Aston Martin. And then row 4, Indy Doncha, a legend, and Julian Hanses, another legend in GT racing. That's an exciting row. Row 5, Mike David Ortmann and Marcel Lanez, and they are in the Toyota Supra, the one and only in the field. Paul Oral Koenig for Allied Racing starts alongside Robin Falkenbach, the other of the Schnitzelam Racing Mercedes. Stefan Bostanciev for Overdrive, and Tom Wood alongside, also in the Aston Martin. Row 8 is Max Kronberg and Patrick Steinmetz, who's qualified further back than he wanted and has said, be careful, I'm going to scratch the paintwork as I come through. Leo Pichler and Robert Howe line up on row 9. Row 10, Tim Reiter and Christian Koch. And on row 10 of the grid, row 11 of the grid, Juliana Holzem and Ferdinand Winter. Row 12 of the grid, Nico Gruber, who featured in TCR Germany last year alongside Josef Nob, a driver who we last saw in Formula 4 here. Axel Sartingen and Daniel Drexel, new in to the GT4, start on the next row. Then Yevgen Sokolovsky and Lucas Meyer with Joachim Bolting bringing up the rear on row 15 of the grid. This is the ADAC GT4 Germany, and we are about to commence with 1 hour of racing.
A quick word about Joachim Bolting being at the back. He's not there because he's the slowest. He's there because the drivers decided to swap Q1 and Q2 order, which broke the regulations. So they nominated the other way round, but then changed their minds, and so Joachim Bolting ended up going out in Q1, and therefore you've got to start that race. But seeing that you weren't nominated to do it, you've got to start from the back.
So he's got a lot of work to do from there, because this is a packed field. Conditions are good. 24.8 degrees centigrade is the air temperature. It has been hot and sunny all week long. It is a lot cooler today than it has been all week. We've had a lot of rain overnight. The skies are cloudy, but we're not expecting any rain at this point. We are at the Red Bull Ring in Spielberg in the Styrian Mountains. A circuit, a legendary circuit that is 4.318 kilometers around, 10 turns, 7 to the right, 3 to the left. That is the championship standings at the moment. Indy Doncha and Phil Durr with 41 points ahead of Paul Oral Koenig and Vincent Andronacco. Keep an eye on him when he gets behind the wheel. Also, Tom Wood and Ewan Mackay, they are an equal number of points behind in the championship standings. The safety car peels off into the pit lane. Nikolai Moller-Madsen just holding back a little. Out of turn 10 they come. They will need to be side by side. We're keeping an eye on those 5 red lights on the gantry. When those lights go off, we will be commencing 1 hour of racing, 1 hour plus 1 lap. The lights go green. This is race 3 of a 12-race season for the ADAC GT4 Germany, and Gabriel Piana, a great start from him. Nikolai Moller-Madsen into second, Ben Dor into third, and there's all sorts of carnage going on behind. One of the Schnitzeland Mercedes has gone straight on. That is Robin Falkenbach. So Robin Falkenbach, who had done so well at Oschersleben, is currently stranded, and this could well bring out a safety car if he can't move from there. There's a lot of jostling for positions up the hill into turn 3, and we've also lost Tom Wood in the Racing 1 Aston Martin, so damage there to the front left, so contact into turn 1. The number 6 car is gonna have to retire from this race. That is such a shame after such a strong showing at Oschersleben.
It's got a puncture, it's got a broken suspension, and now we lose another of the Astons into the gravel. 95, that is, it's going to try and dig itself out the other side.
Nico Hanke.
Absolutely, yeah. Nico Hanke in real strife. That incident at turn 1 is being looked at, and it's broken up the pack because the race leader is getting away all the while. But in a race of this length, it's all a bit clumsy, that, and it's taken out many people's chances, and we do get the safety car as you were predicting.
So the cars are going to have to settle down into single file. That was an epic start from Gabriel Piana. He and Mikael Stray won both races here last time out here, this time last year, and looking to do that again this year. They're certainly setting about it in the right way. Mike David Ortman in the Pro Sport Racing Aston Martin is who we're running with at the moment, towards the latter part of the top 10. In fact, P7, so a little bit further forwards than 10th. There is the stricken car at the side of the track of Robin Falkenbach, and that's a big disappointment. Just too many cars pushing too hard, and as you say, David, you know, when you've got an hour of racing ahead of you, you just don't need to be pushing that hard into turn 1 of the race.
Well, the only good thing that came out of it for those that were delayed is that the safety car will bunch everybody back up. But I mean, you know, that's a 1 hour race. That car is going absolutely no further. Broken suspension. And Tom Wood, who doesn't have the biggest budget to go racing, the Derbyshire driver who was picked up a few years ago, promoted by the Donington Park circuit when Christopher Tate was running the place. And Tom is a talented driver that you're not going to see the best out of. Let's try and piece it all together. Up the hill, it all sort of kicked off towards the middle and the back, didn't it? Yeah, so you can see mid-pack, and it's Wood and Falkenbach who get together, just going into turn 1 on the outside line, running in. Yeah, Wood locks up, and as he's going straight on, somebody cuts across the front of him. So there's one incident, and bang, that's the other. The BM cuts across the front of Wood and does the suspension. So he'd already tangled with Falkenbach. So, in fact, no, I think Falkenbach got a tap. Yes, the black and green BMW gets into the back of Falkenbach and then cuts across the front of Wood. So I think that might have been Patrick Steinmetz in the Schubert Motorsport BMW. Right. He had qualified a lot further back than he wanted to, and he said, I will be going forwards. There may be a few scratches on the paintwork. He wasn't wrong. He wasn't. The problem is not his paintwork. So Tom Wood, well, they've got him into the pits, but they're going to change the wheel, but that is game over, as indeed it is for that car being hauled off the circuit. Robin Falkenbach, Schnitzeland Mercedes AMG, and they were real entertainers at Oschersleben last time out. So the safety car leads the field around. You can see the graphic at the side of your picture, just confirming the positions. It's Gabriel Piana who leads the way. The clock still ticks. Nikolai Moller-Madsen in second, ahead of Ben Dor, Marek Bokman, to give him his full name, Moritz Viskerschen in P5, Indy Dolce in P6, Marcel Lenez, Mike David Ortman, Julian Hanses and Paul Oral-Koenig rounding out the top 10. Important part of this, they might be circulating behind the safety car, but it's not just putting your arm up on the ledge and taking it easy. They're trying to keep heat in the tyres, because when they go racing again, they need to be gripping and up to speed. There will be, in this race, a pit stop, a mandatory pit stop. Some of them are making it a little bit early at the moment, but 25 minutes into this race, there is a 10-minute window that will open, and in that window, every car will be required to visit the pits for a mandatory stop and driver change. You can see from your graphic, the safety car will be in on this lap. So Gabriel Piana will very shortly back the field up while the safety car pulls away.
Nikolai Moller-Madsen will no doubt be tucked up under his back bumper. Piana will try to catch him snoozing and try and open up that gap. He did have a great start to the race and a big lead. Moller-Madsen is looking to eliminate that in an instant.
And you've got two of the most experienced drivers in GT4 terms, Gabriele Piana and Nikolai Moller-Madsen at the front of the queue. Tom Wood's retirement also sadly means that we don't get to see another quick Brit, Ewan Mackay, after lots and lots of bad luck. The bad luck continues, but they hopefully will bounce back tomorrow. Right then, the Crocodile gets into place, then the safety car to peel in, as you can see this time. This is Mike David Ortman's view, another graduate of the ADAC F4 scene. Those yellow flags are about to be withdrawn and we are about to go racing.
Gabriele Piana, he has nailed the accelerator and he has caught Nikolai Moller-Madsen napping exactly as he wanted. The BMW carrying on very much as it left off, leading the way as they cross the line. He's already got 7/10 on Nikolai Moller-Madsen, who is coming under pressure from Ben Deur in third place. The Aston Martin challenging the Porsche. Keep an eye on Bachmann just behind in P4 and Moritz Viskersen, who has just dropped back a little bit into the clutches of Indy Doncia. But look at that lead that Gabriele Piana has got already.
All of that experience being put to good use, and of course the M4 is a car that he knows well, and it's therefore well developed also because it's been around for many a season, so he's extending that advantage. They're going a little bit wide. You saw the Cayman coming up out of turn 3. Max Viskersen fights back as the cars now sprint down towards the long fast right of turn 4. Again, BMW on the grass. That car draws attention to itself just about every lap, doesn't it?
It's just the irony that he said keep an eye because I'm going forwards, and indeed he is. So the view from Mike David Ortman in front of him as positions change, and it's Indy Doncia who is challenging Marcel Linez there as well. Marcel Linez in the one and only Toyota Supra in this race. The incident, turn 1, no further action, so the stewards have deemed that it was a racing incident.
Okay, so the race therefore carries on without any damage and penalties, and up front at the moment it is Gabriele Piana trying to break away by 8/10. With Mercedes there, bounces its way over the gravel back onto the circuit number 4 then, which is the car of Robert Howe, the American driver. The Supra going great guns here. It's a really good grunty car that, and there's of course a number that run in the French and British championships, but now in the German series as well. Onto the pit straight it comes then. So is this going to be an opportunity to gain a place? Let's see. You've also got a couple of the KTMs to factor into this as well. Up the inside goes the Supra, and Lennart there breaks late and dive bombs Viskersen. He goes through, but he goes wide, and diving up past the pair of them comes Indy Doncia. Look in the Aston Martin. He's got himself up past the 718 Cayman, and now, although the Supra stays ahead of him, Doncia has certainly gained ground, and it is Viskersen who is dropping back into the pack.
Viskersen very much being hung out to dry as the rest of the field comes streaming through. Somehow he's got to break back into that queue because Mike David Ortman drag racing him into turn 3. They're still side by side, but it looks as though Viskersen has got the legs and drops back in front of Mike David Ortman. But Indy Doncia, what a great move from him. An experienced driver who never misses an opportunity. He saw one there and he took it with both hands.
Downhill they come then. This is turn 4. Speed builds, slow approach, but as their race winner already this year at Ottersleben, Paul Orel-Koenig accelerates downhill. Vincent Andronico to take over that car. And there in 9th spot is 85 of Johan Hanses. Right, on board again with Koenig, trying to get himself up through the pack. If he can't make progress, at least stay in the peloton, ready for the pit stops as Steinmetz and the BMW goes through.
So they are a little bit settled down at the moment, but the ADAC GT4 Germany, it's always action all the way. Not so much action at the front because Gabriele Piana has more than a second lead when they cross the line in just a few moments. We'll see if that 1.154 over Nikolai Moller-Madsen has opened up. I expect it probably has. He crosses the line 1.4 seconds, so another 3/10 for the leader. Nikolai Moller-Madsen watching the car disappear into the distance. Mike David Ortman having another look at Moritz Viskersen, the Porsche, ahead of the Aston Martin of Mike David Ortman. Viskersen, who is in P7, and Indy Doncia after that great move ahead of him. Here comes our leader up towards the turn, and around we go with the drone around turn 3 and past the penalty box. and challenges for position.
Yeah, there's a back marker that's just served a pit stop. That Cayman that's getting out of everybody's way, so Molle Madsen goes by. But what you also saw there approaching turn 3 was, again, how much of the curb they run on the outside line. Molle Madsen then under attack from Ben Durr, and then in 4th place at the moment, also hustling on and trying to bring down that gap, is Marek Bochmann. So 2nd, 3rd and 4th almost together, all of which plays continually into the hands of Piana. But then in 5th place now, also worth keeping an eye on, is Marcel Lehnertz, because the Toyota is closing up as well. And now that the leaders have been slightly delayed through traffic, the gap 4th to 5th has come down a little bit further. Lehnertz is on a mission, taking Doncha with him.
And you saw the warning that came up on the screen, the graphic that just said that Marcel Lehnertz has got a black and white flag. It is a warning from the race stewards to say that if you leave the track and gain advantage, you will be penalised. Do it again, we are on your case. So he needs to be careful. But that Supra, which didn't win, it did very well though at Hockenheim on its debut last year, is looking very rapid, just getting past the back marker car in front. Indy Doncha, he looks good, doesn't he, in P6 in that Aston Martin.
The Cayman there terrorised off the racetrack, so getting out of the way. But a consequence of all of that is that Sartington has to get out of everybody's way, and in so doing runs out of road. Right, Gabriele Piana now is 1.866 seconds up the road. Now he will hand that car over to Michael Schrey into the 2nd stint. Nikolai Müller-Madsen in 2nd place will hand over his Porsche to Finn Zulauf, less experienced, so it's advantage to the BMW, I think, given Schrey's normal pace and relative experience. But then 3rd in the number 7 or 007 Aston, Ben Durr to give way to Romain Leroux, who is quick in his own right. So that's another car that's worth keeping an eye on.
Yes, it's an awful lot to play for, but it's going to take an awful lot of work to catch those leading cars. Gabriel Piana in particular, and Michael Schrey, such experienced pilots, so rapid. As we've already mentioned, they won both races at this event last year, leading this race. There is the car that has been stealing a few of the headlines already today. Patrick Steinmetz in the number 10 Chequered Motorsport BMW in 10th place, also working his way past back markers. Moritz Viscursion and Mike David Ortmann, and also in there Julian Hanses as well in the number 85 car. Julian Hanses, who was a real star in Porsche Carrera Cup Germany last year, and has transitioned to Mercedes AMG very nicely indeed. He has a new co-pilot for this event. Teo Noe is going to be sharing the driving duties. That is a potent combination.
It is indeed. Onto the pit straight, there on the inside comes Patrick Steinmetz, put a lap on the delayed Axel Sartington Cayman. I notice our turn 10 marker bollard has been flicked aside in this race, so liberties now might be taken at turn 10 as the race goes on here. But Gabriele Piana 2.2 seconds to the good. He's done the fastest lap of the race. Molle Madsen is still 2nd, Ben Durr is 3rd, but Piana is looking ever so strong right now. Somebody that can adapt very easily, it seems, from GT3 to GT4 machinery and back again. And look at the lead that he's been able to build after just 7 laps of racing. And don't forget that part of that was interrupted by the safety car.
Yes, so just totally taking this by the scruff of the neck. 2.29, almost 2.3 seconds is a serious lead to have when you've still got 46 3/4 minutes of this race remaining, but there's an awful long way to go, and we only need another safety car, which, let's face it, is a distinct possibility for it all to close up and for it all to change. Looking at fights further down the pack, the number 30 car being driven by Max Kronberg for W&S Motorsport, and Kronberg has Josef Knopp and Juliana Holzem, one of the Holzem twins, who will be racing. The other, Sandra Holzem, will be taking over the driving duties in the second part of this race. Riding on board with Mike David Ortmann, and this is 8th place, challenging for 7th around the outside of Moritz Viscursion. And Mike David Ortmann just sweeping around now. Julian Hanses trying to follow suit. Now cuts back to the inside along the pit straight. Julian Hanses surely is going to be making a challenge here for P7. He picks up the slipstream, but Patrick Steinmetz, who never gives up, is behind Julian Hanses as well. The 3 of them running in towards turn 1, out towards turn 2, which, although it's quarter turn, is normally taken absolutely flat out. This is where the cars will pick up a slipstream. So Julian Hanses will have his best opportunity so far to challenge Moritz Viskersen, but Patrick Steinmetz is in there as well. Moving to the outside, up into turn 3. Steinmetz looks, cuts back to the inside. It's as you were, but surely this is all going to explode very shortly.
Yeah, Hanses is the man on a big mission, isn't he? Julian Hanses down all over the back of Moritz Viskersen, and there, flashing the lights, Patrick Steinmetz, the BMW, same sort of car that leads the race outright, comes up to the outside line at turn 4. But unless he gets the undercut, he ain't going to get the place because he can't stay alongside the Mercedes, which just slides a little bit coming out of the turn. And downhill they plunge, but ahead of the queue while all that has been going on then, there is Mike David Ortman. Despite the pressure, despite the battles, he's doing his level best to wriggle up the road now.
So this queue, which is headed by Mike David Ortman, is really quite a battle. Moritz Viskersen, Julian Hanses, Patrick Steinmetz all fighting each other for position. We have got Axel Sartingen there, but he is a lap down, just to remind you. And then behind him is the 22 car, Paul Oral Koenig, who will be handing over to Vincent Andronacco. We're looking forward to that. Stefan Bastanchiev up to P12 with Tosh Reiter there as well. So that back-marking light blue car, there goes a Marco Bollard. Who needs a Marco Bollard? We're going to buy them in bulk for the next event. On board with Paul Oral Koenig, lining up the back-marking car in front of him, the 33 of Axel Sartingen, who has played more of a part in this race than we expected, really. He's not proving to be the easiest of back markers to pass. The 23 of Stefan Bastanchiev trying to take advantage as well. Here comes Bastanchiev. Past he comes, picking up a little bit of a toe from Sartingen, but look on the outside, it's the other of the Bonk Racing by Hofer Racing by Bonk Motorsport cars, Tim Reiter. So the car is identical to the leading car on the inside of Stefan Bastanchiev, and suddenly Tim Reiter is in amongst the action.
As we get a little bit closer, of course, to the pit stop window. But yeah, the BMW chipping its way up the order onto the back now of Paul Oral Koenig. So another place to be gained before the end of the lap, potentially. Very nearly came there, didn't it? Because he fainted to the inside line, and that tries to force the Porsche offline, which it does, and it goes wide over the curb, loses 1, loses 2 places. So Koenig drops 2 spots at least, and as he tries to get the momentum back, you can see him hard at work, but that was well judged, wasn't it, by Reiter? Forced a mistake out of the Cayman, and through he has gone.
Absolute textbook stuff, and Stefan Bastanchiev also a winner out of that. The 2 Allied racing cars running side by side, so the 22 car still having to scrub his tyres clean after that. So Paul Oral Koenig not having the best of laps.
And he's still losing places, look, because, as you say, Bastanchiev has gone through, Reiter has gone through, now Koch goes by, so they're all streaming past him, and Koenig is in strife again. Has he got a problem? Has he got a puncture? Maybe, having gone over the curb, he's cut a tyre.
It looks like it, doesn't it? They've certainly got an issue going on there, so that is a real shame. Paul Oral Koenig, flat tyre left front.
Won't turn.
Yeah.
Won't turn. So either it's a suspension breakage, but I think more likely it's a puncture caused there, because he's right on the lip before he gets to the gravel, and that potentially will have cut through something that over the course of the lap then eventually gives way.
Such a shame, because Paul Oral Koenig, a real entertainer in this, and Vincent Andronacco, well, it might be a bit of a push for him to get a drive this afternoon. He's going to have to get that car back to the pits and get that tyre changed, but it doesn't look like he's going to make it. He's going to park it up alongside the stricken Falkenbach car, and it's like a car park up there.
It is. The trouble is that happened just after the pit-in lane, so he would have had to do an entire lap, and the damage he will do to the car by doing that on 3 good tyres will potentially put them out of tomorrow's race, because it would do a lot of damage. So it's a good idea to park it. It's a great shame, but he's probably done the right thing.
So we will look forward to seeing them tomorrow, but this is certainly not the day that they were hoping for. Paul Oral Koenig out of the race. Vincent Andronacco will not get a drive today.
Fascinating fact 37, you can allow much of the success of GT4 racing over the last few years to Porsche and the Cayman, because when they launched, and here you see another replay of the car going wide, runs wide, and there it is, the tyre's gone down coming into the corner. When Porsche launched this, they wanted to call it the GT4 Club Sport, and realised that SRO owned the name and the rights to GT4. So they had to go and do a deal with SRO, who said, well, yeah, that's fine, but have you thought of racing the car? Because GT4 was based really around the earlier 981 Cayman, which Porsche never really wanted to do. They thought GT racing was all about the 911, not the Cayman. Anyway, they were tempted in, and on the back of selling lots of cars, Mercedes thought, oh, look what Porsche are doing, we'll go and do that. And so did McLaren, and so did BMW, and so did lots of others. So the Porsche Cayman was the real catalyst for it. I'll get my coat.
So you get a history lesson here as well, as we see Robert Howe in the Drago Racing Team ZVO Mercedes, also at the side of the track. That looks like pretty terminal. Robert Howe, Gabriele Jakova is not going to get a drive of that, and we were just enjoying the history lesson, and it all started to kick off. We've got a drive-through penalty for Christian Koch in the Team Allied Racing Porsche, and that's for causing a collision, but that looks like an expensive blow-up for that Mercedes that we're looking at with the smoke pouring from it. Here comes... Oh, is that our race leader? Yes, it is. Yeah, Gabriel Piana is so far ahead. I thought it was a back marker. Nikolai Moller-Madsen, well, some 4 seconds behind, and that gap appears to be increasing.
Yeah, I mean, Moller-Madsen is doing his level best. He's got traffic behind him, but Gabriele Piana just looking like a class act. And, of course, having qualified on pole position, he's maintaining that good pace of earlier on. Good battles rage on lower down. Again, you've got the outer position, Axel Sartingen at the head of this little cube. But number 8 there goes by, which is the... Nico Gruber-driven Mercedes, so chipping his way up the order. 15th place he is. His next target is Juliano Holtzen, but at the moment he's sort of stuck on the back of it all as they go down towards turn 10. What are we, 3-4 minutes off the window opening now?
So this will be very much about strategy. The teams will need to make the call whether to leave the cars out. If they're out on the open track, they might want to leave them out as long as possible. If they're in traffic, they might want to bring them in early on in the pit window. Gabriele Piana will not be in a hurry to come into the pits with that empty track in front of him.
Shows how dirty the circuit is. Look at all of those rubber marks that are put down. I know they're not all from today, but with the resurfaced section of the circuit behind, it does rather exacerbate the number of different lines that people have had into and through turn 3. Always the scene of much drama at the top of the mountain. Right there is the next little fight that goes on, as to the inside line finally to make his move then goes Gruber. Is he going to be able to pick up the pace as they accelerate out of the corner? Yes, he is, I think. So the Mercedes gets up alongside the Porsche there in the hands of Max Kronberg, and they dive downhill, still overlapping, but the Mercedes has the inside line. So now Gruber should be able to hit the brakes a little bit later. The road comes to him and he picks up the place.
And still Axel Sartingen features very prominently in that, although he is a back marker, and his sponsor's getting lots of good TV time. Behind them is a KTM crossbow of Josip Knott, the number 89, and Ferdinand Winter in the number 84 Mercedes, just behind that little battle that we're witnessing at the moment. There is the KTM, the unusual looking car, but a real star here in the ADAC GT4 Germany, and Josip Knott. Last time we saw him at the ADAC, he was driving in Formula 4.
Of course, KTM, Austrian brand, so important market this to race on home soil. There are lots of them in GT2 as well that's here this weekend, but Knott is about to lose a place, isn't he? He's gone wide out of turn 9. He gets almost monstered off the racetrack at turn 10 by Winter, who will come up the inside. So now, as they make that run up past the pits, Ferdinand Winter does come through the Mercedes with all of that grunt, powers past. Knott comes back on the inside line, but Winter hangs on to the place.
So, now he goes wide out of the corner. I mean, turn 1, that has been the place for track limits all weekend long so far, and the stewards will be continuing to look at that. It is the Ferdinand Winter car that leads that little pack at the moment. Josip Knott just behind, but now coming under pressure from the Aston Martin. And Handke in there, as indeed is the 32 of Leo Pichler. Leo Pichler, who's sharing with Leon Vasser in the Porsche. These cars absolutely glued together. They run in single file, but that is going to break as they head into the corner. So moving to the outside goes the Aston Martin. The KTM shuts off the door for that one, but things remain very much as you were at the moment, but that all could change very soon. Giuliano Holzem is in the Aston Martin and getting involved as well.
4.7 seconds, the lead gap. Drop down the hill once more. We're on lap number 14. The pit window will be open for the race leader the next time he comes through, but I would agree that Piana will stay out. Second, third and fourth, though, are pretty much as one. Moller-Madsen, Ben Durr, and then Marek Bachmann. Oh, there they are. Look, absolutely as one. Fifth there, Marcel Lennertz in the Toyota, and Indy Donger right up behind him. So there are lots of battles here that are not going to be resolved before the pit window.
So if you're at the back of a queue, then the sensible thing you would think would be to come into the pits at the earliest opportunity, but the teams have all sorts of data that we don't at the moment. Nikolai Moller-Madsen under pressure from Ben Dorr and Marek Bachmann. Moller-Madsen has had them stacked up behind him for much of the race, and Ben Dorr must be thinking that it's going to be possible to do an undercut with Romain Leroux at the wheel of that Aston Martin.
But Dorr knows the car a little bit better, doesn't he? So he might feel that it's worth staying in a little bit longer. But what about that car? Despite the damage down to the back of it, Bachmann is still very much in the mix as well. He will hand that car over to Miklas Born. Downhill goes Ben Dorr, the Dorr Motorsport team that's run all sorts of cars over the years, from Lamborghini Super Trofeo to GT4. The pit window is imminently opening. 2 seconds, 1 second, it is open now. And so the pit window welcomes visitors. And if you're the quicker of the partnership, you'll stay out for as long as you can.
So we will keep an eye on who drops into the pits. There is a minimum pit stop time of 95 seconds from pit entry to pit exit. The driver must not go below that, and timing it as close to the mark as possible. You can see that every 10th counts, particularly when the cars are glued together like this out on the circuit. But within the next 10 minutes, every car will need to visit the pit lane, keeping to the 50km/h speed limit for that stop.
First one in, I think, is going to be number 12. So down the pit road has come the Marcel Lennart's Toyota, which he will now give way to Cedric Pirot. And we've also got Julian Hansers in, haven't we, in 85 Mercedes to give away to Theo Nue, who was very quick years past in Aston Martin. To the pit lane, as you can see, is filling up. Nico Gruber is in, amongst others.
It is a traffic jam down there, isn't it? Theo Nue, who will be taking over the number 85 car, is, of course, the reigning 2021 junior champion in ADAC GT4. As we look at the Toyota Supra, it is Linares and Pirot doing the swap in the number 12 car. Pirot taking the wheel. This battle continues to rage on. Ferdinand Winter and Nico Hanske for 13th place. And I would think that the Aston Martin, well, they might come into the pits early, but still staring at the back of that Ferdinand Winter Mercedes, it feels like this has been raging on a while. So Ferdinand Winter still in 13th place, Nico Hanke in 14th. So you can see from the graphic on the left-hand side of your picture who is into the pits and who has yet to stop. The little grey P sign means that they are yet to pit or are in the pits. If the P sign goes red, it means they've gone below that 95-second minimum pit stop time, and a penalty will be incoming. You can see how tight it is. Well, 2.3 seconds for Pirot going over the mark, so he would have lost effectively 2.3 seconds out on track. There's an awful lot of debris still on the racing line. I think that's the remnants of someone's tyre.
It is, but it's a relatively recent amount of debris, that, isn't it? So somebody, I fear, has of late just had a fairly significant blowout. Now, the good thing is that will be coming towards pit in, but clearly somebody with major dramas there. The pit stops are cycling through, but we've not yet had any of the leading quartet into the pit road. Gabriele Piana still the man with the fastest lap of the race to his credit, and he's nearly 7 seconds up the road now.
And we have a red P that has appeared on our screen. Matej Pavlicek in the KTM Crossbow for RTR projects, and that means that he is below the 95-second minimum pit stop time. The stewards will take a look at that. If they see that that is the case, then he will incur a penalty.
He was under it by 1/10 of a second, but you're under. It doesn't matter by how much, it's a penalty. Mike David Ortman here, trying to get himself up through the traffic.
Yes, Mike David Ortman, who is pretty experienced in both GT3 and GT4 racing, up behind the number 85 car. And at the moment, Julian Hanses has handed over to Theo Nue, so it's Nue who is now driving the 85 car. But that will all shake out when everybody has pitted. Mike David Ortman handing over to Hugo Sassa, and here he comes into the pits for that stop.
So one of the best placed then to come in early. Now look at this for second place. Moller-Madsen versus Ben Dorr. Mike David Ortman gets to the pit lane speed limit line, slows right down, and the car in almost limp home mode to restrict the revs, crawls down the pit road. Also in behind is the car of Tim Reiter. So the BMW, interesting decision this, being taken by the Hofer Racing by Bot Motorsport squad. Get, if you like, the second place car in first. It serves really as a practice pit stop. 89, you talked about it being under on its pit stop time. Pavlicek is now being given a penalty lap with that box at the top of the hill in order to serve the penalty to address the imbalance on the pit stop.
So the penalty box is situated on the exit of turn 3. It's off the racing line, and Pavlicek will need to drive through that box at no more than 60 kilometers an hour for 1 lap, and that will be the penalty that he receives. It's a lot less severe than the drive-through penalties that we used to receive, and that is the KTM Crossbow getting back up to speed. So Matev Pavlicek receiving that penalty from the stewards for going under the minimum pit stop time.
Right, so the stops are cycling through. We nudge half distance in this 1-hour race. As the car there, you can see the lapped Cayman of Axel starting and drops downhill. Behind is the KTM in the hands to begin with of Josef Knop, and now of Pavlicek. It was meant to be the other way around in that car as well, but they got dispensation to change order, I think. So over the timing line again, Piana stays out, and Moller Madsen has no chance of catching him while he's busy defending like this.
No, and you'd think that it'd be sensible to bring him into the pits, but what do I know? We just talk about it. So Moller Madsen with Ben Dur and Marek Bogman behind, Indy Doncher, Moritz Viskerschen, Patrick Steinmetz, Ferdinand Winter, Nico Handke, and Felbermeyer, who are yet to pit. So the leading cars that have pitted so far, well, we can see that Cedric Pirot in the Supra, he is back out on track with Teo Noe behind. And
there you saw Hugo Sasser leaving the pit lane, having taken over from Mike David Ortman. Of course, what we've had in this race so far, the first half of it, rather throws championship form up into the air, doesn't it? Because the top 2 out of that previous race at Ottersleben already retirements. The winners, Vincent Adrianaco and Paul Aurel Koenig, out with that puncture, and Ewan Mackay and Tom Wood out with the damage sustained on the first lap. So very bad result all round, but it goes to show that if you just keep out of trouble and score points in this championship, it does reap dividends.
We're watching a great battle for P6. Moritz Viskerschen just succumbing to the pressure of Patrick Steinmetz. Steinmetz, that BMW has been mighty around here, has in fact have all the BMWs here at the Red Bull Ring this weekend. They're regular winners here. So Viskerschen down to P7, Steinmetz up to P6. Next up the road, Indy Doncher.
And Steinmetz qualified 16th. I know the order is slightly confused with earlier pit stops, but despite being involved in the wars on the first corner, Steinmetz has certainly drawn attention to himself on good pace. Now, looking to see the leader in this time. So Gabriele Piana comes down the pit road. Number 1 BMW then having built a very commanding advantage, and that's going to now give up the... Oh, I'll tell you what, it's Moller Madsen who comes in. In fact, Nikolai Moller Madsen comes through. So Piana leads from Ben Dur. That's why the gap is elongated, because it is the Porsche that comes in. So Moller Madsen might have done the right thing here, because by holding himself up in terms of a defensive line, that was compromising the pace, and so the Dane pits now to give way to Finn Zulauf.
So Finn Zulauf, one of the newer people in ADAC GT4 Germany, taking over the wheel of that Porsche. We still have the top 5, Piana, Dur, Bochmann, Doncher and Steinmetz, who are all yet to visit the pit lane. They've got a little under, well, about 2¼ minutes in which to do that, and that is mandatory. So we'd expect to see Gabriele Piana in very, very soon to hand over to Michael Schrey. So the leader currently around turn 6, so it will need to be this time around that he comes into the pits to make it in time for the pit window.
Because he's only got a couple of minutes left. The sun is getting brighter. The overcast conditions are fading away, which means that the temperatures are going up as well, as we've got just over 26.5 minutes of the race to go. So Piana has done an absolutely stellar job in this stint, hasn't he? He has dominated it right from the start of the race. Down the pit road he comes, and number 1 Gabriele Piana can do no more. Fastest lap, dominant lead, and even with the safety car interrupting progress, he was able to go off and build it again the other side of the restart.
Piana and Schrey are a potent combination, and they've proven that to be the case again after the traumas of Oschersleben. Into the pits they come. Piana stopping exactly on the spot. Only 2 people allowed out to work on the car, plus the incoming driver who helps the outgoing driver out. gets the next driver into the seat, buckles him up, plugs him in, wishes him good luck, and very, very shortly Michael Schrey will be rejoining this race and carrying on the good work with Gabriel Piana. A little bit of advice being swapped over there as well.
Yeah, adjust the steering wheel.
We've got another below minimum pit stop time, Finn Zulauf in the number 31 car. So Finn Zulauf, who took over from Nikolai Moller-Madsen, that was the car that was running in second. So Finn Zulauf has gone below the 95-second pit stop time. I sense a penalty incoming.
Yeah, it'll probably be the penalty lap, won't it? And again, he was only under by a tenth, so that's slightly down to the car controller releasing it a smidge too early. They have to try and do the calculation to make sure it's 95 seconds line to line, factor in the pit stop time, so just ever so slightly under it, but a penalty, I think you're right, will have to come, and it will drop the car a few places. Right, down the pit road then now goes the race-leading BMW, to be taken over by Michael Schrey, and let's see whether that is going to have as easy a time in the second stint as Piana had behind the wheel in the first.
Well, without the number 30 car behind, 31 car behind, it's going to feel like an eternity before second place comes along, because the penalty lap is only going to extend that gap.
Yeah, I mean, also to the pit lane has just come Dur to give way to Leroux, and also number 18 has just served its stop as well, Buchmann to Nicholas Bourne. So there they are. So actually, look, the Porsche loses a place anyway. Despite being under on the pit stop, it's fallen back behind the Aston Martin on the pit stops. Leroux was a full second slower in the pits, but jumps ahead. And so now there, look, Zulauf goes to the outside line, tries to get the undercut coming out of the corner. This is where the grunt of the Aston should carry it ahead, and it does. So that Porsche is kind of hit twice. There's a penalty we expect to come, but it's already lost a place anyway.
So Zulauf hasn't actually received that penalty yet, but we believe it is incoming. But Romain Leroux in the Aston Martin, who was so good at Oschersleben last time out, behind Niklas Bohn as well, rushing to join that fight. And if the penalty does come, which we think it will, then Bohn is going to pick up fourth place. So the Hofer Racing by Bonk Motorsport team with Gabriel Piana there as well, watching as practically a Saturday afternoon drive now for Michael Schrey. He's got 23 3/4 minutes and he has no challenges nearby. The timing screen says 7.7 seconds between Schrey and Leroux as they weave around that rubber.
Oh, that's what it was coming into the pits because of breaking the beam. It might be slightly greater than that. The penalty is confirmed now for number 31 of Finn Zulauf. There he is going through. So on the road, third, it is Schrey ahead of Leroux from Zulauf, and then still being shown as Marek Bochmann in number 18, but it should be now Nicholas Bourne behind the wheel of it. Over the timing line they come, and the gap is in fact 8.3 seconds now, so it's even greater. And as long as Michael Schrey doesn't make a mistake, then the win is his for the taking.
It really is, because Romain Leroux is never going to find that amount of time in the time that's left, unless, of course, there is a safety car. With what we've seen so far, that is every bit a possibility. Théo Noé in P7 challenging Cedric Pirot. That's confirmation of that penalty lap, but this is a great fight. The Supra versus the Mercedes. Cedric Pirot in P6, but for how long? Patrick Noé, who was such an entertainer in last year's championship, he won the junior category and he finds a route past Pirot, and Théo Noé is up into P6.
Rattle it up over the curb, but Théo Noé goes through, picks up the spot. Very well-versed GT4 racer with exploits in the European and the French championships as well. And here was the move then. So Cedric Pirot in the Toyota gave him just about a car's width on the inside, and Théo Noé rides the curb, look, rattles over it, bounces back onto the terra firma, but goes through. Again, the grunt coming out of the corner, front engine Mercedes, then drags him ahead of the Supra, which is a similar concept. Again, a big, powerful front engine car. And who is that arriving, locking up into the pit lane? It's 97, isn't it? Which is Holzem.
Yes, so Sandra Holzem, the Holzem twins, who are running for Dur Motorsport, and that looks pretty terminal coming into the pits with smoke coming from it. Here's our leader crossing the beam, and he has over second place Romain Leroux, 8.492 seconds. So Leroux is not doing anything about that gap.
No, that's right. And Nicholas Bourne in turn is a further 2.3 seconds adrift. So Zulauf going through fourth. This is Philippe Dour fifth. Nue sixth. Nue is the one to watch, isn't he? Because he's got good pace. Behind Cedric Pirot is now Alexander Hartwig, number 44 Porsche. So Hartwig has taken over from Moritz Witzkirchen. And again, Alexander Hartwig is an experienced GT4 Porsche racer. So he might, there it is, the blue Cayman heading up the hill. He might have something to say about the order before the end.
We have another penalty lap for a pit stop infringement. It's not shown up as a red on the screen. It is Pavel Lefterov who took over from Stefan Bastanchiev in the number 23 Overdrive Racing Porsche. So a penalty lap incoming for Pavel Lefterov. Lefterov, who is currently in 20th position, so not troubling the point scorers at the moment, but certainly not going to be once the penalty lap is served.
Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. So penalties come thick and fast. That is Zulauf, who I think has he done his stop? Has he done his penalty? Anyway, we know he's got one, so it's got to be served at some stage, and he's being caught anyway by Philippe Dour behind him. That margin 11 tenths, and Dour quicker. There he is in the first sector of this lap. 20 minutes, then 1/3 distance remains, and Schrei is just building the gap. 8.4 seconds, looking oh so strong up the road.
So Nicholas Bourne up into P3 would suggest that Zulauf has taken it while we weren't looking. So Nicholas Bourne P3. It is BMW from Aston Martin, from Mercedes, from Porsche, from Aston Martin. So lots of variety at the front of this pack. We are looking again at Cedric Pirot, and Pirot has got Hartwig behind. So Alex Hartwig now pressuring Cedric Pirot for P7. So Pirot not having the pace in the second part of this race.
Rattles over the curb there, bounces out wide, and that gives Hartwig the chance to challenge the Italian driver now heading up the hill. Hartwig then will have the inside for this kink at turn 2, the outside for turn 3. If he can't get the job down, he's going to have to stand on the brakes, get the car on its nose virtually to get the undercut on the inside line. Wide in, no, couldn't get the undercut. He's hung out to dry, doesn't work for him.
So great defensive driving from Cedric Pirot in the Toyota. Holds on to P7, but for how long? Alex Hartwig looking very quick indeed. In the background is Hugo Sassa, and actually there's quite a big gap to Hugo Sassa back, who has Max Rosan for company. So Sassa and Mike David Altman not as quick as they have been, and struggling a bit for pace down in P9. That's a little bit further back than we'd expect to see that duo.
So Schrei's advantage continues to go up, even though Romain Leroux is doing personal bests. He's barely doing anything to rival Michael Schrei's times, with now 18.5 minutes on the clock. Nicholas Bourne is still there third, fourth Finn Zulauf, in fifth place Philippe Dour, sixth is Theo Nue, seventh is Cedric Pirot, in eighth is Alexander Hartwig, then Hugo Sassa ninth, Max Rosen is in 10th place, and they've kind of paired off now. There are still battles all the way up and down that top 10. There is the second of the Bock Motorsport BMWs, then Max Rosan at the wheel of it, 10th, and he's right there now, isn't he? Up with Hugo Sassa's Aston as they come out of turn 10.
I'll tell you who hasn't paired off though, that's our race leader and second place, Michael Schrei, 8.5 seconds ahead of Romain Leroux. You can see him going around turn 3, and Leroux hasn't even got around turn 2 yet. So there he is in the distance. Nicholas Bourne also very much on his own in P3. And then we look back to Finn Zulauf, Phil Dour and Theo Noe. And Noe looks to be the man on the charge at the moment. He took over from Julian Hanses, and he is a man who just pushes and pushes all the way to the end. Cedric Pirot and Alex Hartwig. This is an ongoing battle. It's been raging for some time now. It continues. Cedric Pirot, Alex Hartwig filling his mirrors for Porsche. The rear-ended Porsche behind the front-engine Toyota Supra, and still Cedric Pirot holding on to P7.
Yeah, the Cayman then drops downhill, and there, further up the road, you can see Nue still on the attack. Right, that mid-engine Porsche all over the back of the Supra as Max Rosan goes to the inside there and easily goes ahead of Hugo Sassa. That was a relatively untroubled move, wasn't it? Either Sassa didn't expect that or realised that he couldn't hold him off indefinitely and just let him go. But that was a really easy pass, seemingly, for Max Rosan.
Sasa looked like he was struggling for pace earlier on, but he tries to come back at Max Rozan, but that BMW, as all the BMWs have proven this weekend so far, are very, very hard to beat. If you're in a BMW, you are in a strong position, historically very strong around the Red Bull Ring, none more so than our race leader Michael Schrey in the sister car to the one you're looking at there, the Max Rozan number 2. Hofer Racing by Bonk Motorsport BMW. Hugo Sasa trying to fight back, but it feels like there's a little bit of a lost cause for the Aston Martin.
Indeed so, and also now the Toyota of Cedric Pirot dropping away, as you say, now that Hartwig's got up and past him. Now Finn Zulauf might not stay fourth before the end, mightn't he? Because there, look, another effort is made. Nue goes right up the inside of Philip Dorr. Easy peasy lemon squeezy, because Dorr barely put up any resistance. That was an open door. So through it goes Teo Nue. Now Dorr tries to, on that inside line, get the place back at turn 4. This might just work for him then, because he let Nue get up the inside and then got the undercut to level with him. Teo Nue on the outside line has his nose in front. If he can stay there, he'll be on the inside line for the next corner, but that little slide has cost him. Go on, Theo, keep your foot in it. No, he's got to give way. Slot back in behind as they drop down the hill. So Nue on his toes, gets to the inside line.
How late on the brakes was Teo Nue on that previous corner, and a lovely bit of drifting. Unfortunately, it hasn't paid off yet, but Phil Durr holding on to that 5th place with all that he's got. But Teo Nue, well, he's a bit of a steamroller, like, move aside, I'm coming through. He looks again to the Aston Martin. Surely he's got it now to the inside. Phil Durr, though, sweeps across, shuts the door. The Phil Durr, I've cried that one twice now, out of turn 10. That's a joke that keeps on giving. Down onto the pit straight, just in front of them, Finn Zulauf, just picking up a little bit of dirt, but carries on in 4th place. But this is the fight for 5th. Surely Teo Nue is going to get past before too long, because I don't think Phil Durr can hold him off for another 15 minutes.
Well, no, Nue had a go at turn 3 a lap ago. He knows exactly what he's got to try, but Philip Durr is ahead. That's a front door, therefore. Up to the turn 3 right-hander they come. All of this is letting Zulauf get away, and is Nue going to be bold enough to challenge? He thinks about it and then thinks better of it.
Yes. Phil Durr says no way, no way. So Phil Nue stays in P6.
But again, he almost got the drive off the corner there. But again, both of them front-engine cars, very, very similar in the way that they are constructed, and so very little that Teo Nue could do. And again, he has a look to the inside line, tries to unsettle Durr. He gets up on the curb, but even if he makes a move to the inside, it's the outside at the next corner. So he needs to be here, ready to pounce. And we go back to the replay of how he lost out a lap ago, look, on the outside line. And had he not had this little moment that got him squirrely up over the curb, he might have been able to stand his ground down the hill. As it happens, this is what went wrong. Little slide, had to just check the car's progress, and that 10th or 2 lost was enough to enable the Aston to go back past.
This is Teo Nue's debut race of the season in ADAC GT4 Germany, and he's definitely carrying on from where he left off last year as we ride on board with Hugo Sasa and his ongoing battle with Max Rozan. And this is a replay of some of the early incidents that we saw at the beginning of this race, and the number 6 car that came into the pits with Tom Wood at the wheel, and yeah, that's game over for that car, as indeed it was for the number 22 car of Paul Oral Koenig.
So lots been happening, that's for sure, and that was the car shredding bodywork. It was another of the Porsches.
Yes.
We'll identify correctly who that was in a minute, and then we had this great battle between Durr and Nue.
It was Pavel Lefterov that shed all the bodywork, and I did wonder what had happened, because Stefan Bostanchiev had got the car up to a very reasonable position, and then it dropped like a stone. So that's clearly what the issue was there.
Interesting, though, that we've had quite a few punctures in this race. Now, it might be drivers, and we have had a lot of action, I'll grant you. In other words, people going wide, cutting curbs, bringing gravel onto the road, that gets run over, rather than anything within the tyre construction. I think it is people's zealotry that's contributing towards it. 12 more minutes to go. What else has this race got to offer? Well, for Michael Schrey, he's probably already worked out where the trophy is going. He's worked out how much of the champagne he can get relative to Gabriele Piana, because there's not a lot else to occupy him.
No, it really isn't. Some 8.8 seconds up the road. He's got time to stop and have a cup of tea if he so desires, out to complete another lap, and that is lap 7 of the race. No, that's not the lap 7. I was thinking we've done more than that, haven't they? That's lap 28 of the race. I've dropped the 2. He's leading still, well ahead of Romain Leroux in the Aston Martin. He just needs to keep it pointing in the right direction. Of course, reliability was an issue at Oschersleben, but that might have been through getting a bit of contact in traffic. So the BMW normally pretty reliable as he heads up towards turn 3, and you can see second place dot in the distance. His teammate in the number 2 car, Max Rosan, finally past Cedric Pirot. There's a KTM Crossbow getting involved there, as well as indeed is Hugo Sassa. The Crossbow is a backmarking car, isn't it? So yes.
Yeah. That might be the Felbermeyer car, but it's about to go a lap down against Hugo Sassa anyway, who dives up the inside as they now get towards turn 3 with 11 more minutes on the clock. Great variety that we have. It's BMW ahead of Aston Martin, ahead of Mercedes, ahead of Porsche, then Mercedes, Aston, Porsche, BMW, Toyota, Aston Martin to round out the top 10. And look at this, because now Finn Zulauf has been easily reeled in by the charging Theo Nue, who's put himself back ahead of Philip Dorr and has not only scarpered from Dorr, but he's also got himself onto the tail of the Porsche.
Brilliant stuff. Theo Nue, very much the man to watch at the moment. He is on a mission. 4th place, very much within his sights. It's Finn Zulauf ahead of him, and Theo Nue tracking the Porsche in every way possible to try and find a route past. Now Zulauf, a relatively newcomer to GT4 Germany, and he has got his work cut out to hold off Theo Nue, the driver who has proven to be pretty irresistible in terms of moving forwards in the last season or 2. Onto the pit straight they come. Theo Nue lining up Finn Zulauf up the hill. That's a steep old hill that is, up towards turn 1. Not as steep as it's going to be towards turn 3. Out of this corner they come. It's foot flat to the floor. And now is the best opportunity from Theo Nue to pick up a slipstream.
That's the only thing that is flat, a foot to the floor, because everything else around here is up or down. And when it's up, it is very up. Hugo Sassa's view is at the back of the Toyota. Cedric Pirot just there ahead of him. 9th and 10th they are. And there is Zulauf, who easily gives away the place there. He was so busy taking all of his room on the outside line to try and maximise the line through the corner that just gifted Nue the place. And then Zulauf couldn't get back onto the racetrack. Nue is up alongside him, and the Mercedes should be ahead by the time they get to turn 4. Zulauf stands his ground on the outside line, doesn't he? But Theo Nue gets the job done.
Zulauf is going to have a lot of dirt on his tyres as well after that brief excursion. But he's not giving up, is he? Finn Zulauf, Theo Nue, here he comes on the inside. The inside becomes the outside. Theo Nue has it covered off. And the 85 car continues around turn 6. But Finn Zulauf, he's not giving up on this one very easily.
But it's, again, one of those situations where a driver makes a bit of a mistake and is stung into action. Look, I mean, there he goes, way out wide over the curb. I mean, he couldn't be anywhere further away from the apex at that point, so Nue just easily goes through. And that's why here Zulauf suddenly gets all excited, because he realises he's made a mistake and tries that little bit harder. By the end of the lap, Nue is able to sort of swat him like a fly and say, no, enough, right? Just sit behind me now.
Consider yourself swatted. Henrik Still, who is in the number 30 car, taken over from Max Kronberg, and he is in P12. Michael von Zabienski, who took over from Patrick Steinmetz in P13. Well, it was that way because it looks like they've swapped. No, they haven't. They're running side by side along the pit straight. It's Henrik Still who has the nose in front, and he pulls in front now. Von Zabienski picking up the slipstream into turn 1. The number 30 car of Henrik Still goes to block him off now out of turn 1 and down towards turn 2. And suddenly Von Zabienski has dropped back. They lost an awful lot of speed into turn 1.
Yes, I think that was partly Zabinski going over the curb and that just affecting life a little bit, but certainly Henrik Still, who in fairness to him is a massively experienced driver, particularly in GT4 terms, race winner in Lamborghini Super Trofeo, etc. He should, given his experience, be able to pull clear, and he is doing just that, as here Cedric Pirot fends off the challenge of Hugo Sassa. Down the hill they come. The clock has 7 minutes and change still on it, but the Toyota hasn't quite got the ultimate pace, has it, in this race? And again here Pirot is fighting a rearguard action.
Car 31 is showing the black and white flag for leaving the track with an advantage. So Finn Zulauf We've seen him going wide. I didn't see him gain much advantage from it personally, but he's got a warning from the stewards for that, and that means they are watching him. Hugo Sassa on Cedric Pirot. This continues. Pirot runs in P9, Sassa in P10, and the Aston Martin tracking the Toyota Supra. Hugo Sassa, who we saw in GT Masters last year, has just pulled back on some of his commitments for this year to focus on exams and education, but he's focused very much on the back of the Cedric Pirot Supra at the moment, in towards turn 1. Has a little look on the outside. Pirot moves across, shuts the door, cuts back across to the curbing, and out of turn 1, now flat out towards turn 2. This is Sassa's opportunity. He's as close now as he has been for a while, flashing the lights. Around turn 2 they come, not lifting off for anybody. Cedric Pirot in the middle of the track, now under braking into turn 3. Sassa drops back. Still, he can't find a way past the Supra, or can he? Because Pirot goes deep into the corner, but holds on to that position. And it's Cedric Pirot continuing in P9, Hugo Sassa in 10th.
Well, Sassa is trying everything, but the trouble is everything he tries there's an answer to from Cedric Pirot. Downhill they come into turn 4 again. You drop down the hill, and there the Toyota twitched under braking, so Pirot goes a little bit wider, but Sassa not quite able to get the drag out of the corner to get up the inside. So across the road ahead of him comes Cedric Pirot. He gets the apex for the next corner, and there's no way up the inside there for Hugo Sassa. See the brake lights dabbing on as they're part of the light catches them, but also then a big break at the bottom of the hill, but also just occasionally a little dab. Partly gives you the confidence, but it also unsettles the guy behind. So Cedric Pirot perhaps trying to outfox Hugo Sassa over the brow, and then down towards turn 9, the Rindt curve here.
Cedric Pirot and teammate Marcel Lenez scored a podium on the debut race of the season at Oschersleben, a P3 for that Toyota Supra, and followed it up with a 9th place in race 2, looking to add a minimum of a 9th place from this race. But Hugo Sassa, who we're looking at, is that Hugo we're looking at now? Yes, I think it is that we're looking at. I recognise the eyes. Is following Pirot in 10th place. Now here he comes. He really is close. This is a great shot. See how close he is to the Toyota in front around turn 2. Listen to the engine note. No, he doesn't lift for anything or anyone. He looks to the outside into turn 3, but still Pirot has this one covered off. A big gap on the inside, but Sassa not close enough to do anything about it. Pirot just losing the back end slightly out of turn 3, but it nails the power. On he goes, and you can see the frustration in Hugo Sassa's eyes now as he continues to follow that Toyota. He's getting fed up with the sight of the back of the Pirot car.
Indeed so, and he needs to make this move sooner rather than later, because with 4 minutes on the clock, he's running out of time, he's running out of laps, he's running out of options. They're delaying themselves, so they've fallen a long way now, nearly 4.5 seconds away from Max Rozan. The 9-second margin that the race leader has is something that right now Cedric Pirot can only dream of. Michael Schrei is way up the road, but Pirot versus Sassa, this is going to go down to the wire, isn't it, as they sweep now through 7 and 8, that elongated S.
It really is going to go to the wire. The 1, 2, 3, Michael Schrei, Romain Leroux and Mick Glassborn, they are running very much on their own out on track. We got smoke coming from a car here. That is a big lockup from the Holzem car, the 97 of Sandro Holzem, and that's a car that has been in the battles all race long.
It's already had 3 pit stops, the mandatory stop plus 2 other dramas, so it's not a happy race at all, I'm afraid to say.
Oh, the Dual Motorsport mechanics are going to need a bit of a break after this race, because not only have they got 4 Aston Martins to look after, but one that comes in every couple of laps. There's our race leader, an eternity between himself there on the left-hand side of the screen and that little dot that you saw in the distance on the right-hand side. That was Romain Leroux, and he's going to need binoculars to see the leader at this rate. Cedric Pirot and Hugo Sassa continue their race-long battle with 2 3/4 minutes plus 1 lap of this race remaining. It's still Cedric Pirot in P9. Hugo Sassa, he's fed up with the sight of that car. He wants to get past. He's trying everything. What else can he do to claim that 9th place? Cedric Pirot just positioning the Toyota exactly where it needs to be. Into the sun they come. Further battles a little further back. The 23 car trying to find its way back through the field. Pavel Lefteros and Leon Vassathura. So Leon Vassathura, who's driving a KTM Crossbow this year, still getting used to a Porsche. And it's Porsche v Porsche that goes in the direction of Lefterov. And Vassathura trying to come back, but Pavel Lefterov moves from 20th place to 19th place. Unfortunately for him, it's still out of the points. It's a minute and 3/4 of this race remaining, and Lefterov using an awful lot of the track and being careful not to exceed track limits, surely, because that was a long way out on that corner.
And you can see why people are having punctures, can't you? Because they're using so much of the outside of the circuit. Look at that hanging off the back. He's been off the road. That's the diffuser that's gone and taken some bodywork of the Aston Martin with it. So as the race goes on, more and more drivers making mistakes. 95 there, you can see, with all of that damage at the back of the car. That's him on Prim. Definitely not Prim, that car anymore, is it? And that is decidedly dog-eared.
Prim are not very proper.
Absolutely.
Indeed. Just behind a car that has been having a bit of a nightmare of it. That's Denis Bulatov. Lucas Meyer bringing out a red flag during qualifying this morning. So the number 20 Mercedes also not troubling the points at the moment. Having said that, only one position off because the cars in front are slowly eliminating themselves. The leader is most certainly not doing that. Michael Schrey. Romain Leroux has pegged it back by about half a second, but I think that's probably more Michael Schrey just nursing the car to bring it home. 8.672 to be precise is the gap between first and second. The gap between Hugo Sassa and Cedric Pirot, well, it's about the thickness of a sheet of paper, as Sassa still continues to monster that car. And you saw Teo Noe just going out so wide coming out of turn 10, and surely, well, he kept within track limits, but only just. Finn Zulauf in the 31 car, then it's Phil Durr, and he has got Alex Hartvig filling his mirrors once again in 7th place. The clock has struck 0, so we will have the one extra lap. Michael Schrey, his lead down to a mere 8.5 seconds now, but he is just bringing that BMW home as Zulauf once again takes a really wide line into turn 3, past the penalty box. Phil Durr and Alex Hartvig in the closing stages of this race. Alex Hartvig lining up the Aston Martin in front of him. It's Porsche v Aston Martin, and Alex Hartvig looks to the outside, but Phil Durr just holding on to that racing line, going out to the curb and staying in front of the Porsche. So the leader continues to be Michael Schrey. There's a surprise, you weren't expecting that, and that does things with your head as the drone, it goes in the opposite direction of traffic. And great shots from our drone here. The final stages of this race, we're looking at Alex Hartvig, who continues to hassle Phil Durr for that 6th place. Phil Durr in the Aston Martin continues to hold on. They weave past the debris on the track. Ahead of Phil Durr, it's Finn Zulauf. And now we are into the final lap. Our leader has already gone through. He's around turn 1 and heading up towards turn 2. Michael Schrey, 7.7 seconds ahead of Romain Leroux in second. Miklas Born, Teo Noe, Finn Zulauf, Phil Durr and Alex Hartvig, that man there in the Allied Racing Porsche. A fight that has been raging all race long.
And it has been a very lively race, perhaps not so for Michael Schrey, but pretty much everybody else has had a fight at some stage. And Gabriele Piana still with the fastest lap of the race to his credit, as for 6th and 7th they have another go. Philip Durr still under attack from Alexander Hartvig, who gets the run out of the corner. Porsche up alongside. That mid-engine Cayman, very nice nimble car, sprints down towards turn 4. It's got the right line, assuming that Hartvig can brake later, because that grunt and go Aston booms up alongside. Absolutely mirror to mirror, but yes, Hartvig does turn in ahead and he's now 6th.
So in the absolute closing stages, in fact the final lap of this race, Finally, Hartwig finds that route past, but now Phil Dorr, he says, I'm not having any of that. I've been here for the race long. I'm going to carry on. Onto the outside he comes, and look at the sliding. Alex Hartwig sliding the back end of that Porsche. The tyres are probably shot on the number 44 car. Finally, he gets the move done, but the car that comes out of turn 10 to receive the checkered flag by some considerable distance, Mikael Schrey, he's back for Hofer Racing by Bonk Motorsport. 37 laps on the board, and it is that car that started off in the hands of Gabriel Piana, taken over by Mikael Schrey, who leads ahead of Romain Leroux, who crosses the line 7.6 seconds later ahead of Niklas Bon and Theo Noe. A great drive through into 4th place. 5th, Finn Zulauf. Alex Hartwig getting Phil Dorr just in the absolute closing stages on the last lap ahead of Max Rozan. A good recovery to P8. Cedric Pirot in P9. Hugo Sassa rounding out the top 10.
And there you saw that last lap contact between the top two, the 6th and 7th battle, I should say. The two cars there, Porsche versus Aston Martin. Contact made, then the slide from Hartwig, but he deserved that. He worked very, very hard for that position. And that was a car that came alive once he was behind the wheel, because Maurits Visserkirchen was losing ground early in his stint, wasn't he?
He was, and Alex Hartwig really proving his worth. The other of the Allied Racing Porsches, of course, Paul Oral-Koenig, not having any luck at all and ending up as a non-finisher in this race. There's a replay of Gabriel Piana congratulating Mikael Schrey as he crossed the line.
But in fairness, that was Piana's win, wasn't it? Because he did all the hard yards, helped in part by battles behind, but he really did gift that to Schrey.
So tomorrow it'll be the other way round, because Schrey will be the one who has to qualify the car, and can they repeat it? They did it last year. They could do it again this year. Mikael Schrey, Gabriel Piana taking the win ahead of Romain Leroux and Ben Durr. Niklas Born and Marek Bockman, a great 3rd place for the Schnitzelam Racing Mercedes. The rest of the results scrolling through on your screen. Great stuff. The sun shines at the Red Bull Ring, and we once again are thoroughly entertained by the ADAC GT4 Germany. A dominant display though from our race winners. It's what they did last year. This circuit clearly suits the BMW M4. They won both races last year, and looking in a pretty good position to do the same again this year. You can see that there were 6 cars that didn't make it to the end. 6 non-finishers, a fair bit of damage at various points in the race. As Schrey just comes back into the pits. And a good job done, and just avoided all of the action, really. Got to the front, opened up a gap, controlled the gap. Not involved in any fighting at all. That BMW been on its own for very much of the race. Into Parc Fermé comes Mikael Schrey, ready to be greeted by the Hofer Racing by Bonk Motorsport team. And they will say, we're back. Oschersleben was but a blip. We are back. It's a long wait for Romain Leroux to come. Such was Schrey's lead in this race. Romain Leroux still out on the track, and he will be in shortly in the 007 Bond-themed Aston Martin. I think big congratulations, though, to Schnitzelam. They lost one of their cars on that first corner incident, but Marek Buchmann and Niklas Born doing a great job to score their first podium in the ADAC GT4 Germany. So a comparison, discussion, sharing notes, Schrey and Piana. And it's very much as you were last year, winning so many of the opening races, winning 4 of the first 4 races of the season, and looking to get back to that kind of form. You can see the classification. It's Indy Doncia and Phil Dorr who lead the way, 10 points ahead of Leroux and Ben Dorr. But of course, Schrey and Piana, who had a poor time at Oschersleben, now on their way back, already just 14 points away from the lead of the championship. But Indy Doncia and Phil Dorr a very powerful combination, as indeed is Romain Leroux and Ben Dur. Cedric Pirot and Marcel Lenez in P4, 20 points behind, as indeed is Hugo Sassa and Mike David Ortman.
So lots of smiles and celebrations, but Gabriele Piana doing a really, really good job. The Italian who many years ago went to live near the Nordschleife, thinking that making a name for himself there as a Nordschleife expert would trigger drives, and it has done exactly that. So he celebrates the win. There is
one of the doors. There's so many of them, I can't remember which one's which.
I like the bow tie on the overalls. Nice touch. Very well dressed, as you are in an Aston Martin.
I'm guessing that is Ben Dur. So yes, that would be Ben Dur, who, along with Romain Leroux, have done a great job here. They got a second place in race 1 at Oschersleben and a 14th in race 2. So another second place, surely top 7 of the podium can't be too far away for that driver combination.
By Gabriele Piana, taking all the plaudits, but I mean, he was just absolutely mighty in that. Nobody could hold a candle to him, so a very, very well-deserved win.
Yeah, absolutely. Mighty. Doesn't even start to describe it, really. I think congratulations to Marek Bokman and Miklas Born. That was an exceptional display. Their best up till now had been P8. So to get on the podium, that is a great afternoon's work. Real shame that we never got to see Vincent Andronacco, Paul Koenig, obviously having that incident at the beginning and retiring from the race. This is third place, Miklas Born and the number 18 car, Miklas Born and Marek Bokman in the Mercedes AMG GT4 for Schnitzelam Racing. The Schnitzelam car that did make it to the end. Second place went to 007, Romain Leroux and Ben Dur in the Aston Martin Vantage GT4. Race winner though, here it is, Gabriele Piana at the wheel, sharing with Mikael Schrey for Hope for Racing by Bonk Motorsport in the BMW M4, the winner of race 3 for the ADAC GT4 Germany. So congratulations in the pits amongst the two drivers. They have proven to be a formidable combination in GT4 racing and continue to show the way. They are the defending champions in ADAC GT4 Germany and are suddenly looking very strong indeed. Of course, it's all changed because the next stop on the map will be in the Netherlands at the Zandvoort circuit, the banked Zandvoort circuit. That's a very different ball game to here. Then after that, they head to the Nürburgring and then the undulating Sachsenring for round 5 before it all comes to a stop. Hockenheim in October, where our new champions, or indeed our defending champions, will be crowned. Onto the podium. We just wait for the drivers to appear.
Lots of applause from a happy team in the pit lane.
Very happy indeed, and that's a great relief to them because at Oschersleben there was an element of people going, oh, Schrey and Piana, yeah, okay, they're not challengers this year. And it's like, well,
don't rule
what's this? Yeah. Yes, indeed. So there's an empty podium there for you, just 6 bottles, and here they come.
Standing in a row. So Marek Bokman and David Ortman arrive.
Not Mike David.
Sorry, Miklas Born, yes. After a very, very good effort, but just not quite quick enough. Lost time in that first stint.
Yes, but an impressive display nevertheless. 007, Ben Dur. And Romain, I haven't actually seen Romain Leroux yet. Has he gone home? Romain, where are you? We need you on the podium, please. Dare say he will appear at some point or the other. So just the one driver, second on the podium, the missing Romain Leroux.
Drive solo, did he, Ben Dur?
I don't actually remember seeing one get out and one get in.
Well, I'm just thinking, he was the start driver, but looks like he's just got out of the car, almost like he's done the entire race on his own.
I'm sure that can't be the case, but That's, oh, here he comes. That's Romain Leroux. We got there in the end. Here he is. Says call of nature and all that. Top step of the podium, Gabriel Piana and Mikael Schrey, and from Hofer Racing by Bonk Motorsports receiving a team trophy, one of their folk onto the podium as well. It's time for the national anthem. The moving national anthem for our race winners, Hofer Racing by Bonk Motorsport. Hats back on. Well, apart from Romain Leroux, someone find him a hat. He really has been caught short for this podium, hasn't he?
At least he's here. I think there was no guarantee of that at one stage. Right, so the gold balls are brought forward for the winners.
So the gold bull race circuit, and the silver ball for second place. Gotta love the bow ties, haven't you?
Yes, it's a nice touch there. Going with the James Bond Aston Martin theme, although the books, James Bond had a Bentley.
Really?
Yes, rather than... He did occasionally have an Aston Martin, but the Aston Martin link is very much from the films, not the Fleming books.
It would have been nice if you get a Bentley in GT4, but it can't happen really, can it?
Not at the moment, no. And there the Schnitzelalm team celebrate a third place, and the winning team also in receipt of a trophy.
Brilliant stuff. Great job from the drivers of the ADAC GT4 Germany. Now, last year, Mikael Schrey and Gabriel Piana did exactly what they've done today, but they went on to do it again on the Sunday. Can they do it 2 years running? We're going to be finding out, because tomorrow the ADAC GT4 Germany returns to the Red Bull Ring for race 2 of round 2, race 4 of this 12 race season.